I'm Joan Walley, and first and foremost I'm the Member of Parliament in Stoke-on-Trent North, Labour Member of Parliament. I also chair the Environmental Audit Select Committee of the House of Commons, and it's in that capacity that I've been at the conference.
OK, well let's start with that hat on, if you like. I mean, how do you see the work of the committee over the coming year?
Well, I think that the work of the committee is going to have to change, and it's going to have to change substantially. And I think that there are all kinds of unanswered questions now that the government has got rid of the Sustainable Development Commission and a host of other organisations as well, like, for example, the Audit Commission, as to how sustainable development, environmental issues, green issues are going to be embedded in government policy. And the government has said that it's going to have a new cabinet committee, and that the Secretary of State for DEFRA is going to sit on that committee, and that is going to be the place where policy issues are going to be ironed out, and that the Environmental Audit Select Committee will continue, although it's Parliament that determines what the Environmental Audit Select Committee does, but it will continue with its scrutiny role in terms of government policy. But the unanswered questions are where the resources for that are really going to come from, and where the resources that previously were in the Sustainable Development Commission, whereby there was day-to-day work being done, monitoring being done, capacity building being done, and then the data that they had was being used to address difficult issues in individual government departments. Where is that work that needs to inform the broader policy objectives going to be done? Where's the engine room for that? And that is occupying a lot of our time, because quite simply, with the resources that a select committee of the House of Commons has, we really aren't equipped to match the detailed policy work that was previously done.
Right. I mean, now let's just talk about the energy efficiency scheme. What do you think, straightforwardly, about the changes that were brought in at the spending review, where we saw what was a recycling scheme in terms of the cash involved become a tax?
I think it's been really bad news for all the people who are concerned to have green environmental taxation. And I think what we've seen is the CRC brought in, and people expected that it would provide an incentive, but overnight it became, because of the comprehensive spending review, a stealth tax. And I think that just makes it really... It
wasn't very stealthy, was it? It was pretty straightforward.
They just did it. So basically, I just think it gives green taxes a bad name, but it hasn't really addressed the incentives that are needed to get the energy efficiency measures in place in the local authorities and in the smaller companies that aren't under the umbrella of climate change agreements.
We've seen some of the private sector kicking up a stink about the league tables in particular recently. Do you think they've got a point?
I think they do have a point, and I just hope that now that there's going to be a delay, and now that there's going to be a review, that there will be opportunity for informed contributions, so that the government actually listens to what the people who were responsible for making it happen on the ground think will be needed to make it work effectively.
Do you basically agree with the idea, though, of reporting, of listing how people do, of having the sort of the naming and shaming element?
Well, absolutely. If you can't actually monitor, if you've got no starting point, how can you measure? You've got to be able to measure how we are making the energy efficiency and the carbon reductions. So you've got to have measurements. If you can't say what's being already used up and what progress is being made, you can't begin to see how you're getting from the trajectory from where you are now to the overall targets of where carbon cuts need to be made.
Do you think it will work?
I think that the answer to that question is that on its own, it's not going to be the answer, and it depends how all the other policies of government get effectively lined up alongside it, so that the sum total of that measure alongside everything else works well together.